on to the fun conversation.
Yeah,
I
mean,
guess.
it's not a fun topic, but it is an important
Going from a
topic.
high to kind of a low.
Yeah,
there.
so we're
Right.
gonna be smoothing out on a more serious topic now. Just going over, the dark sides
Yeah,
side
sure.
of
So
Siege.
if you are unfamiliar with what we're talking about, there's a particular content creator on YouTube. His name is Jaeger himself. He tends to make a lot of why the Siege community loves X player, professional player or streamer, or something like that. It's going to be their highlights of their Twitch clips and things like that. He does it to music. It's one of those where you can tell he puts effort into the video rather than it just being rips from clips and then uploading it all together, kind of that lazy, just stealing people's content type of thing. He sort of actually puts a lot of effort into it. And he just recently made one sort of highlighting the negatives of Siege, and that tends to be the toxicity in the community itself. And this is kind of off the heels of just recently, there have been a lot of really popular streamers getting into the game of Siege. Most notably, I mean, I know Tim the Tatman was playing.
Yeah, Soda Poppin tried it out,
Yeah,
and
Dr. Disrespect.
Summit 1G tried it.
Yeah, and I know the real kind of reason why this happened, and the conversation is sort of back in the forefront, is because there was a streamer named XQC, I believe his name is, and he was playing a lot. And there was a thing where he kept getting team killed. He did 10 matches of ranked, and each match he was getting team killed, bunch of toxicity, people calling him names and things like that.
Just ruining the experience.
Yeah, and or just doing damage, taking him down 99, taking him to 1 HP and letting him play out the rounds or something like that. So that was kind of where it happened, because he was super big and he did this whole thing where he was fuck Siege. Basically, he was this was the most unpleasant experience I have ever had with any video game, and he just sort of was I'm not playing this shit anymore. And that was kind of where that came from.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of, the video touches on a lot of things. It touches on things like team killing, stream sniping, language, verbal harassment,
Especially
sexual
towards,
harassment.
females,
Yeah, exactly that. So that's kind of what we're talking about right now. I mean, basically, there are a lot of things that we had talked about before. I mean, and it seems like every time that we have the show, we talk about new measures that Ubisoft is making to sort of curb this toxicity, whether it be the insta-ban in the text chat, or now they sort of bleep it out and then take it in for further review and things like that. It's really tough to sort of moderate that voice chat, though. I mean, the team killing stuff, there's definitely better ways to track that and moderate that. But that's the one thing, is in the VO chat, it's very challenging. And in the video, they touch on quite, apparently that, large streamers that can be harassed in game, they have connections with people high up at Ubisoft. So they can just send clips to people at Ubisoft and get them banned mid-game. The issue comes when it's people that are less popular streamers, or people that aren't streamers at all, just people trying to enjoy the game, sort of being harassed the entire time. So this is things like people that are of a low level, just immediately getting killed when the game starts, and people just calling them any form of derogatory language you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know people that have Smurf accounts that they'll be level 2 on their Smurf account and will get TK'd and carry a whole game against other people that don't are at the level of a new player because they're not very good.
Yeah.
And they'll get TK'd for it and stuff like that. It's I mean, the obviously to me the biggest issues when it comes to things like that are the TKing. Especially the unnecessary ones. I understand if there's a hacker, you got to kill them, or if it's friendly banter between two friends, throwing a C4 up under the floor and killing them, just having fun. That's different than just ruining someone's experience trying to play the game.
And for me, I think I think where the way to combat that, I guess, is because I think a lot of people want to see bans, want to see people removed, and as much as that can solve the problem, I don't think it will stop determined people. And I think a lot of the problem comes from determined people, kind of people who want to maybe cause trouble, someone who wants to instigate. And I think really not the only way I can think of, but I think a good way to think of it is, I think Siege has to do a better job. Also, I was told that I'm coming through the left ear only.
No. He got it. Dre fixed
okay.
it, yeah.
Oh, perfect. I wasn't sure. And so I think the way to combat this is maybe you ever play Battlefield and how you get points for helping out during a match, for giving someone ammo. As much as that maybe won't stop the problem fully, I think maybe you have to kind of create incentive to do well. Like, give more points for doing certain things. Give a renown boost. Like, you ever in Overwatch, you can kind of vote for people to get certain accolades.
Yeah.
So maybe best teammate at the end of a match, you create most helpful teammate, best player, most friendly, stuff like that. That kind of sounds cheesy in like the theory of it. But again, what if when you're voted the most, the best player, you get 200, 400 renown, maybe an alpha pack if you're the most friendly
Yeah.
player when it first starts. As much as you want to just kind of squash it and get rid of it, you need to create an environment where people don't want to be toxic or are punished in the way they care about, which may be maybe getting stuff. Maybe,
Yeah.
imagine, instead of getting banned, you would, lose your inventory of things. Like, who knows? Like, I'm not for people just losing things. But it's tough because I don't think it's going to just come with, squashing it in the bud. I don't think it's just going to come from saying we're going to, ban these words or everyone just be nice. I don't think that's going to solve this problem because no one will just be nice if they don't care. You need to incentivize them to be better. And I don't know if that will solve it. I don't know.
No. Yeah.
It's tough because
It's a trial and error process, and I think Bob and I were talking about.
Yeah, and I even saw Neems post something, just a question about the forgive system when it comes
Yeah,
to the TK.
so Bob and I were talking about that, and I know that Get Flanked, I watched his old video back from July, and he had said doing something like Dota 2, where they put him in a non-priority kind of session, so they need to work their way out of it. I don't know if that would work too much, only because the game's on sale all the time, and it's not really stopping people from buying a new copy and then just trolling
the
on that
starter
one.
edition if they want to
Yeah,
just
exactly.
go
And I
over
think
shits
that's
and
also,
giggles,
that's also, I think, a symptom of the problem is people, I think, won't make the effort to cause this much trouble if it costs too much to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, as much as I enjoy the fact that Siege is $15 for some people
Yeah.
or $20, $25, at that same time, right, it's kind of like if a game goes free to play, right? Like, and whenever that happens, someone goes, oh, no, like, this is when all these people come in.
the cheaters
and the
can
cheaters,
just get
you
new
know,
accounts.
Exactly. And so like, if Siege was a $40, $50 game and kind of stayed there, maybe those people aren't so inclined to go spend that $40 again, aren't so inclined to go spend that $50 again to go, depending on what happens. And again, I think that's part of the problem is if you make a low bar of entry, you get people who will take advantage of that low bar of entry and cause trouble. And especially now, I think even in that video, when the guy's harassing somebody, they're kind of like, you're going to get banned or I'm going to report you. And he goes, well, no matter how many times I'm reported, I don't get banned.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep doing it. It doesn't do anything. And I think that's also part, right? I think there was a moment in the beginning of all of this where you could have squished it and stopped it, and you didn't. And it's kind of like, like with, being immune systems, right? Like the minute if you don't kill all of it at once, it just gets stronger and it comes back worse than when it was before.
Even with like stuff like CS:GO and League of Legends, their toxicity is really bad because League of Legends is free, free to play. I mean, you can get an IP ban, but it's still free to play. You can just make a new account if you don't,
you could just have,
and then same with
use like a I can't remember.
like
VPN.
VPN.
And just like get a new IP address. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough, and like you bring up a good point. League and CS are incredibly toxic as well. I mean, that's the internet for you. I mean, you play any video game, you take it back to like the days of the Xbox 360 game chat. I mean, that was like some of the most toxic shit ever.
Yeah.
Anything online where people have that sort of anonymity, there's going to be toxicity. Because you think, especially people that play video games, is that they have like, a lot of people use video games as sort of like an escape mechanism, right? You're very stressed, you have a long day, you come home to play video games. The issue is then that you have people that sort of take that out on other people, and then you have people that just want to play the game to sort of relax.
Yeah.
The big thing where it comes into it, I think, with the biggest change that needs to happen is it just sort of happens sort of the way that we took the initiative to make it happen. We created a place where it's not, I don't want to say like a safe place to play the game, but it's a place where you're not going to experience people just randomly TKing you, where you could actually enjoy the game itself. I mean, and
people
that's
who are
anything.
dedicated to the game and don't want to have to deal with like the bullshit and want to move up in ranked or
Exactly.
just have some cool people to hang out with.
But like that's the thing is the games yes, the multiplayer exists and the community exists, but there needs to be like some sort of sub community, if you will, of people that at least like are not going to be assholes, right? And so you could like, yeah, maybe Ubisoft doesn't have the tools to sort of set everybody apart from that and sort of ban all the people that are toxic and sort of know who's good and who's bad and have specific people moderating all of these things. That's virtually impossible. But if you have people that care enough about the game and enough about other people that we'll take it upon ourselves. We have people that
Yeah.
stepped up to be admins in our server to like sort
Exactly.
of help things run smooth. So that any game has that. Overwatch probably has that. CS:GO probably has that. It's just places where communities where people can get together. That's the biggest thing I think that's going to sort of save a game like that. And I think Ubisoft should maybe instead of start pushing things from their own side, maybe start highlighting like groups of places that you can go play Siege, so that it's
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
hey, this place is has heavy moderation on things like racism and sexism and TKing and toxicity, and so you can go there and play the game, and that's that. I mean, it's like, because all they have right now is like, if you go onto the Siege subreddit, there's like the official Siege Discord, and I have people saying that's like some of the most toxic shit they've ever experienced before in their life.
Really?
And I mean, it's like people TKing and being genuine assholes about the game. When you have a game like Siege, it's just people that are on their high horse thinking they're the shit and then get
Yeah.
super butthurt about a bunch of stuff and they'll get pissy and everything.
And I agree.
So
I
like,
think there's an upside and a downside. Like the downside is like this problem probably isn't going to go away. And I
no,
think,
and it never will.
Oh,
In
it never
anything.
will, but
in
we
anything,
can
it never
control
will.
it.
Yeah,
We can
no,
try.
and
We've
I
tried,
think
sure.
this is the way you do it, right? Like Siege, at any time when you're playing this game, right? In reality, you're only playing with 4 people.
Yeah.
Right? You're playing with 4 other people with you, and now is this going to save the game out of whole? I don't know. Right? That's going to be another thing. But Neem's made a good point. The game is making money, so there's really no incentive for
Yeah.
them to change it. It's
Exactly.
like if we all left tomorrow and said toxicity, then they're okay. Maybe they'll listen, but that's probably not going to happen. But this is how you do it, right? Like you tell somebody there's a place like Breach Charge where you can kind of go and you hang out because I have no doubt that there are people who are in our Discord right now who would have given up the game had they not met. So because I see it all the time on Reddit. If someone goes, "This game sucks,"
Yeah,
I have
I'm
no one to
giving
play
it up.
with. Like, there's
Yeah,
no reason to play it,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's why, honest to God, that's why I stopped playing Overwatch. Is I just didn't have a core group to play with. Every time I played, it was a miserable experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not into it anymore. And even with Siege on the console, I really was having a rough time because I didn't have anybody to play with. And once I got to PC, I was like, okay, now I have like 4 friends to play it with. It's one of my favorite games. But I think we need to understand that we maybe look at this game in that nice light because whenever we play, it's just playing with I never really play
Yeah,
with random
exactly.
people. So, but yeah, I think the big thing is what you can do on an individual level is find a group of people to play with because it won't solve the problem on a general level, but it will solve it for you,
Yeah.
and it will solve it for other people.
Well,
and
that's,
you
I
know,
mean, and it kind of continues to grow from there as well. I mean, that's like, you can't just sit by and sort of expect your issues to be fixed. Even from a company like Ubisoft, yeah, they're a company that owns the game, but Jesus, they can only do so much, right? There are certain things people are asking that are just impossible. And so that sort of takes the initiative. Yeah, you want to play the game so bad? All right, well then find 5 people that are nice, make a little Discord and have them play and let it grow from there. Or
Yeah.
join something like us, or join something like the millions of other servers that are out there that are curated and moderated for things like that so that you can have an enjoyable gaming experience. I mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely in any game that you play, in anything online. I mean, it's unfortunate to say, and it's not like you're saying I'm giving up on humanity, but online people are going to be assholes, and that's the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
I mean-
can't accept that and you can't take it with a grain of salt, having it be like, okay, if I go online, someone's going to call me the N word or maybe the F word, that's probably some of the most shallow, non-meaningful insults you could possibly send at somebody. That means nothing. And if that deeply offends you, then you should reevaluate maybe the way that you're offended, and sort of take it as, yeah, it's the internet and it fucking sucks. And if you want to do something about it, don't just sit in your room and cry about it. Take some initiative and
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
a change. It comes from the individual. It comes from the person playing the
and
game.
We're not just saying like, join a Discord like ours and you'll never experience it. We're kind of like the internet's kind of like the Wild West. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of bullshit going on and it's really hard to control, and I think people don't understand how hard it is to control and to manage and moderate and all that stuff. And that's why people are getting so upset, and so many people are getting so upset is because they don't understand how hard it is to manage. Like our own Discord, like, you know, that's tough. Like we have like over 300 people in it, which is fantastic. But then you get those occasional, you know, bad eggs, and you know, sometimes there are three of us, and we don't see it like right away because we're preoccupied with other stuff. And, you know, we'll have people messaging like, yo, this person's being really toxic. Like, I'm glad that they do that. But, you know, it's also really hard to, you know, same with Siege. Like, Siege has what, like 17 million players?
Oh, no, 70 million. 50 to
excuse
70
me.
million players, something like that. Yeah.
Even with a team of like 200 people, that's like near
impossible to moderate that. You would need 1 million people to moderate that. And then everybody's monitoring 70 people individually. That's an insane, that's an insane amount of people too. Like,
and for me, I'm an optimist, and I'll always say this, right? If you can, you know, if we can affect, you know, if I play with people and I can make their experience better, hopefully they'll make one. You know, if we can create, if Breach Charge could be 10,000 people all being nice to each other, you know, Siege will be a 10 times better place.
Yeah.
And I
There
think
you go.
that's the way to do it, is simply
Reaper makes a good point as well. He says it's a cultural issue bigger than Siege at the end of the day. And yeah, it isn't. Theo says it as well. I mean, people are toxic in real life.
Yeah.
Like, people cut you off
mean,
in the
true.
middle of the fucking road. Like our drive up
I
here
will say,
today.
I mean, this is
pissed the
Philly.
fuck off.
This
Like,
is Philly.
I can't
But
even
I will
describe
say
to you.
that half the people, I guarantee half the people that are talking shit to me won't meet me outside of a bar to like throw
you could
hands. You
kick
know,
the shit out of
I will
Cole.
kick
Is
anybody's
that what you
fucking
want to say?
ass.
You want to
I will.
beat the
I'll
shit
kick
out
your
of a
ass. Ask me if I
sixth
like
grader?
burritos again, asshole. You gotta like. I'm sorry, that was a joke. That was
Because he
me.
fucking loves
I'm being
him.
toxic right now. But like, I think, you know, a lot of it is like, you know, people are sitting behind a screen and then they can think they can talk mad shit. And,
Well, like I
you know,
said,
get
it's the
away
whole
with
thing
it.
where it's, you know, at the end of the day, you finish up school or you finish up work and your boss is being a dickhead, or some kid at school, or
And
your
then you're letting
teachers
it
are being a
out all
dickhead,
in- yeah.
or your parents are being a dickhead, or your wife is being a dickhead, or your husband's being a dickhead, or your kids are being dickheads. Anybody can be a dickhead.
your
And
co-hosts are
you
being
sit
dickheads.
down, yeah, exactly. You sit down into the game, and then people take it either two ways. They're like, all right, I'm going to play the game to just sort of chill out, or
I'm not gonna respond to that.
what did
Cole.
I say?
I'm
I
not
will
gonna say
respond.
anything.
I will respond. I just
I'm not
gotta,
gonna say
I'm
anything.
sorry. I'll say this. I'm whipped. My girlfriend just texted me and she told me to, you know,
Watch your mouth.
watch
boy.
my mouth.
Watch your mouth, boy.
Jack saw it. Don't worry, Kayla. I'm sorry. Oh man, I'm getting red.
I'm gonna spank him later.
Fuck.
It's fine. I'm gonna spank him later. It's fine.
Sorry for my mouth. Just when I get angry,
He's passionate.
I'm
He's
passionate. I'm a passionate man.
He's a very passionate
lover
man.
as well.
Yes, dear. Sorry, dear. Love you.
Now that is wholesome. There you
That
go.
is that is a
Emanate
wholesome.
that. Emulate that behavior.
Clip that. Clip that.
Clip that. Speaking of clips.